And I also think it's true that, of course, you can imagine that there will be spaces that emerges that we don't know yet, we haven't thought about yet, but will come and will be places where people will be learning. Also museums, cultural institutions. There are so many places where you can learn things about the fields that you're studying.
Dokk1 is located in Aarhus, Denmark, the second largest city in Aarhus. And there are just over 300 inhabitants in Aarhus. And Dokk1 is a public library and citizen service place where it's just under 30,000 square meters. And it opened in summer last year. And the sum of the building was just over 300 million euros, so it was quite an expensive building. But it is a public library where people can go and still do the things that they do in a traditional library, that is, go and find information. Just last Saturday we had an opera in the Great Hall, performed an opera, and in the open space we had a hornblower orchestra with more than 40 choir members singing and playing, and there was a big author event as well. So in this month we have over 140 activities going on, just in 1 month.
So I would like to introduce you to Marguerite first. You are in the 10th grade, right, in this Internat d'Excellence, which is a boarding school. Then we have Nafat, right? Nafat is also in 10th grade. Yeah, please tell us more about your dream school and yeah.
I think school have to be more spacious, have more luminosity and more parks. Students need more space to work. In my school we have to share our workspace with everyone, so it's really hard to focus on our work. I also think we should have big windows so light can enter in the classroom, and we will be more awake during the lessons. We should also do some classes outside of the classroom, like in biology, having a park inside of a school or going outside, like in a forest. I think we will be more interested and more focused on the lesson.
And so what we do is we organize 2 laboratories a year, and during these weeks, young people in between 14 and 18 years old, they invent their own applications, and they're also always answers to societal problems or questions. So we go into the city with them. We observe what's going on. They get taught by sociologists, people who know about the history of the city. And then after this first initial research stage, they define what is it they want to work on, what solution they want to find, and then during this week they create their own invention.
You know, those really active learning methods are happening when you're doing things, when you're exploring. You learn by really seeing and doing and making. And in the classroom you're merely passive, you know, you're just taking notes and you don't really, you're listening. And we know that the retention rate when you just listen to a lesson or to a lecture in a lecture hall is really, really low compared to the retention rate when you're basically making things, doing things and teaching others also. And this occurs today much more in third places than in the actual schools.
Well, school contains lots of different rooms and spaces. Classroom is only one of that. So you have restaurants or library and everything like that. And the idea of school as a service means that you don't need to put all these different spaces in the same building. But you could define the school within the neighborhood.
I like the idea of going outside to learn, but we should keep a physical place we call school. And because we need a place where we can gather and share our opinion and our views with the other, not just the student, but with the teacher as well. This is what school should be like.
And it also means that the teaching and learning is integrated to neighborhood. So it's a learning community rather than learning school or learning classroom. We still need to have classrooms and learning spaces, but they don't have to be in one building anymore.
But the way we see library is that the library is shifting from a place where you transact books to being a place where you go and meet people. Therefore, there's much more room for people to be able to meet than there are places for books actually.
So you could have a school of one metro line as an administrative unit, and then you have different specialties. You could have an art school or something, but from the management point of view, it could be like one metro line that will manage all the schools there. It's a quite new way of approaching this, and it will take time to change the way of defining schools, to change the management of schools, how the schools are financed. There are many obstacles, but at least based on what we know already, this is much more efficient, learning-wise, the money-wise. It's much more flexible. The investment risk is lower. The learning is much more. Learners are much more engaged. So there are lots of benefits. We have started in Espoo, and the next school is going to happen in Shanghai, in China, in 2017.
All people are coming, and we create activities for all kinds of people and all sorts of different kind of activities, both from creative activities to learning activities, meeting activities, performing activities. So almost whatever you could mention or dream upon, it will happen in Dokk1.
That the students, the teenagers, were really positive. The first thing that students were saying, this doesn't look like school, it doesn't feel like school. So they are more motivated to learn in an environment that doesn't look like a traditional idea of school, as a kind of production facility or something like that. I'm an architect, so my colleagues are maybe the most against this. So educators and the schools and as organizations, they will love to have much more flexible environment. But architects are so used to design buildings as such. But I'm not afraid of that, because once they realize that it's not against architecture, but it's against by solving everything by building. So there's still same amount of work with architects, but the buildings are not anymore one entities, but they are more like connected solutions to each other.
Par contre, moi, mon métier, c'est architecte, et quel que soit ce que l'on étudie, quelle que soit la manière dont on l'étudie, et quel que soit l'endroit où on l'étudie, on est de toute façon situé dans un espace. Et moi, mon travail, c'est d'organiser l'espace autour du lieu d'apprentissage, quel que soit l'apprentissage qui s'y déroule. J'essaye de proposer surtout un sentiment de bien-être général dans toute l'école.
I think that nowadays learning places are such as ugly places, and when we enter into a classroom, we don't have the desire to learn, and I think our classroom are responsible of that. And so for me, these classrooms must change, and they should be more user-friendly. They should be a place where we feel well, like at our home, for example, to give us this desire to learn, and to get that, we can change the fitting of the classrooms. Classrooms can be changed into living room, and we all know we will learn better when the framework is less strict. So I think that the fitting of the classroom must change for the future of education.
It's really hard. I think we need teachers, because see, if we don't understand, it will be hard. We need a teacher to explain what we don't understand.
So that they have this freedom, which is departing from their own interests. So what is it they think is important, and then they start working from there. And so the mentors, the teachers, they are much more guiders than teachers, actually. So it's for them, it's also a process of discovery, of invention. It's actually playful. It's a playful process.
You just need great teachers passionate about what they're doing and that are really ready to change their role into a guide, into a mentor.
I think we are increasingly aware that we must look beyond the usual classroom or the auditorium in a university and understand that the old distinction we had between a classic space where pupils would be seated with a teacher and then were told what to learn and what to know. And now in the new educational situation, we need to move much closer in terms of having learning experiences also outside the classroom and offering opportunities for young people who are not in the classroom to be taught the same things, move closer to business and to other key players. So I think, yes, I think the world I grew up in and knew when I was studying is disappearing, and we are having many opportunities to have learning spaces outside the classical educational space.